Isn't it funny how the human species is dominated by psychotic delusions? Of course, one of the biggest is God. Most of us walk around believing that there's a singular God in control of the world, a force that we've never felt or spoken to or touched or have seen. And how nice would it be to sit him down and say, hey, God, what are you doing in the world? Why aren't you fixing it? What are you actually doing to improve it? I mean, you're supposed to be love. Shouldn't you be doing that? How funny that In God We Trust actually ended up on the dollar bill. Our other psychotic delusion, even more destructive than religion, because this is what it's all about. This is what we fight for. This is what harms other people. This is the manipulation that we apply to human consciousness. You have a choice if you want to believe in God. You are forced to participate with money. You can't get out of it. Let's review some modern history. In 1913, the Federal Reserve was invented. J.P. Morgan, pretty much, and his international banking friends came in, and America said, here, take our money. Here, privatize it. You own it. You can do what you want with it. It's not ours anymore. It's all yours. Basically, that's exactly what happened. America lost control of her money. So, like bankers, they think they're so smart, but they're not. They're very low consciousness, and so they take our money and they start doing investments and all the wacky things they love to do. And what do you think happens? Well, a crash happens in 1929, the Great Crash. Boom. Money just fell apart. Totally dismantled. Now that's kind of important to the wealthy because, the wealthy, they have a lot of money and they want to keep it real. They want to keep it alive. And the poor, well, they just want to give us peanuts just to keep us working to make more money for them. So it's much more important for them to keep the illusion alive and working. So what they did is our Federal Reserve went over to Europe, 1930, with Germany, France, UK, Italy, and even Japan, believe it or not, and they formed the Bank for International Settlements. They did not want money to crash like it did in 1929. But what really fixed the structure was in 1933, we passed the Glass-Steagall Act. Basically, that said a banker can't take our money and invest it and lose our money. It was commercial banking dividing investment banking, not all under one roof anymore, meaning that they had to keep our money for us in our bank accounts. Sounds like a good idea. I mean, seriously, do I want my money invested by a low-conscious banker that's actually going to ruin it and lose it, which has already happened? All right, now we can move forward to 1971 and the Nixon administration, and pretty much eliminated the gold standard. Money not backed by gold anymore. Money now is truly a piece of paper. That's all it is, a piece of paper, not backed by anything. Now we can move to 1999 in the Clinton administration. What they did is they repealed the Glass-Steagall Act. And once again, it made the bankers happy because now they could take our savings deposit and invest it in anything they wanted. Wow, how cool is that? I want to be a banker. I really do. Because I get to do whatever I want. Is it a surprise that in 2008, after all their brilliant investing, because they're so intelligent, that we suffered another big crash. And then we instituted Dodd-Frank, a lighter version of the Glass-Steagall to fix the structure. Here's the really sad part. This big money illusion is protected by the Ivy League and all education, really. We have Harvard and Yale law degrees and economic degrees, all these fancy theories of keeping money alive, and they actually come out and they start lying and manipulating us. They tell us whoppers of a lie. Some of them say that the Glass-Steagall wasn't responsible for the 2008 crash. That repeal meant nothing to 2008. Well, now, I'm not a rocket scientist, and I can pretty much look at this kind of scientifically with, A equals B equals C, kind of basic common sense. From 1933 to 1999, no crashes. All of a sudden, we lift Glass-Steagall, give bankers complete control, do whatever you want, free nilly-willy with our money, and in 2008, it crashes. Oh, I think it's highly responsible for the bankers just throwing away our money in investments. All right, well, that's some of it. The next part is this. Our Federal Reserve, central banking, filters out to the big corporations, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo. They make the Fortune 500 companies. Now we got a bunch of corporations making products for the global economy. Now everybody else has a central bank. China, of course, got a central bank. Russia's got a central bank. India's got a central bank. And they do the exact same thing. They got a central bank, goes to banks, they make corporations. Now they can all compete on a global level. And that's the good news. It is a world economy now, and that eliminates the possibility of World War III, because they're pretty much all doing business with each other through their central banks. The proof of this is the Bank of International Settlements. It grew from 8 members to 60 members now. Every country is a part of the BIS system. That BIS system is designed to do one thing. It's designed to make sure that these central banks do not crash. They all have united to keep the money illusion alive. Why? It's simple. They make the money. It's important to them. They have the money. It's important to them. They control the money. That's important to them. They run the money illusion. So they have formed together to make sure that they do not harm the other central banks. Now, sure, they have squabbles like family members. They do a little fighting here and a little fighting there. When Russia goes into Crimea, we put in sanctions on them to get them back in line. That's what they do. But no major war will break out from this, because they all want to keep money alive and working. There's a term for this. It's called corporocracy. Corporocracy. The corporocracy is not only us, it's the central bank system, period. The global way of doing business, because they are in business together under the BIS. Greece was the perfect example. When their structure started to fall, they all pulled together. They got Greece back into the work, gave them money so they can get up and running. They cannot let one central bank fall, because the country falls. America can't let Russia, the central bank, fall. Because when one system starts to fall, they can all collapse, because money's not real anyway. So they are pulling together to make sure that money stays real. This is the 1% running the world, not the governments. In fact, we can take communism, the terms of communism and free world, freedom fighters, democracy. We don't even need those terms anymore, because they don't exist. Russia doesn't work under communism. China, we still apply communism to China, but it doesn't exist. It's just a false term now, because the central bank is running their economy. And we are highly tied to China in labor. So It's capitalism. The world is now capitalism. There is no more us and them. It is them, the banking structure. Us are the smaller governments, like America. 2% of our people work for the federal government. We are the small portion now. This is the big portion, the big corporatocracy. We can also stop blaming things like Bill Gates and the Warren Buffetts of the world as being the 1%. All they were able to do was take some money out, a lot of money, and be their own individual, their own systems, high-tech stuff. But the real 1% is this structure that's doing business on a global level. These people remain hidden behind central banking. That pretty much covers what's going on. Let's move on to the bigger manipulations of money. I'm going to cover the very basic banking principles. I'm not going to get into when the Federal Reserve, they fractionalize money down through their big banks and local banks. Don't even need to go there. We just need to see the very basic manipulation that's taking place. So this circle right here represents all our money in America. Basically now, it's electronic banking. Our money is little bits of information in a computer. Our money is no longer actual dollars. We got debit cards, credit cards, we can transfer through PayPal, we can transfer right through the bank, we got Bitcoins now. It's all electronically done. So when another corporation buys another corporation, they just do an electronic transfer. Hell, when I buy something, I pretty much do an electronic transfer to another banking account right through my banking system. When a millionaire and a billionaire and they go down to buy a home, they don't go to the local bank and get a big stack of cash and take it to the next bank. No, they just transfer. It's electronic based. The actual cash on the street fluctuates between 6% to 8%. That is how much cash we have on the street. They give it to us so we have something in our hand to make it feel real, to make money real, to make it usable for the poor too, because the poor really don't use electronic banking. This 6% to 8% cash on the street really is designed for the poor. Pretty phenomenal, huh? Here's what happens to my money. And since it happens to my money, it happens to your money too. I put $10 into my savings account. The banking system can take $9 of that and loan it out. They loan it to you. It could be a car, it could be your mortgage, but basically they have hijacked my money, loaned it out to you to buy a car or a house. If you default on that car or house, they get the property because they have the note on it. My money gives you the ability to buy a house, but yet when you don't come through, the bank takes over. They own the property. They have never used a dime of their money. Through this process, they make extra money on interest when you do make the payment. Why is it that a group of people get to manipulate this money in this fashion where they can use our money and not cut us in on the deal? Why am I not getting a portion of this $9 as maybe interest to me? And why in 2008, did they have permission to, when the housing market fell, to kick you out of your home? My money, since it is my money that went into your loan, I say you should have stayed in that home until you worked things out and then picked up your payments later. Yeah, and pay me back later. Hell, it's my money. That's my $9. Can you see the manipulation? Can you see how wrong that is? Can you see the harm that that system does? It's not even close to being moral. And this is how immoral it truly is. Let's take the poor. They fight for 6 to 8% poor. They fight for the 6% ratio of cash that's on the street because they don't have access to credit. They don't have access to electronic banking. They're poor. Our money is not real. There's zeros and one in a computer system. And yet we cannot share this money with the poor. We cannot take this money and build homes for them, feed them, medicine. It's not even real, and we can't even give fake money to a poor person so they can buy real food and real shelter. That is a very sick and perverse system. I say that we start taking all this fake money and we have the bankers build homes for the homeless. Have the bankers bring in medicine for the homeless every month to pay for them. Let's take the homeless people off the street and use our fake money to do it. Let's not let them rely on this paper, because that's all it is. It's paper. Let's use the real energy of the system and end homelessness. We can do it. In fact, these bankers are really good at controlling money. It's much easier for them to take care of the poor than government, because government, come on, we all know about government. I mean, come on, why do you think a hammer costs, $1,000? They're not very good at managing money, but these guys are. They can do a much better job. Why not? Yeah, they're going to have their economists, their lawyers, and all these Harvard and Yale and all these low consciousness, manipulating thoughts saying that'll crash the money system. That'll hurt the dollar. How can you hurt something that's not real? You can't. It's a lie. It's a manipulation. But if we do something like that, what it does, it changes the energy behind the money in the paper. Right now, money is highly negative. It's very low consciousness. It's about lies and manipulations that we're all forced to participate with. It's a psychotic delusion, but we can attach money, turn it into a positive energy, turn it into a compassion energy, and let it filter down to the poor and start taking care of the poor with it. It changes everything. Now money becomes positive. Capitalism becomes positive. The banking structure becomes positive. We flip everything around from a line of manipulation to a source that is actually helping humans. Here's the bigger truth. Here's our human minds. Let me draw my little stick figure again, put a little arm on him. Money is in our heads. completely in our heads. It's why we get up in the morning, we go to work to make money. We go out to dinner, we pay with money. Everything's about money. We communicate with money. We don't communicate on a soul-to-soul level. We communicate with this, worldwide. Our satellites, made with money. Our cell phones, made with money. To use them, paid for, made with money. It's a bunch of material thought in our heads. We're all about money. It's all about money. Well, what that does, remember our human soul that comes from the light membrane, the compassion, where money doesn't exist in the light membrane, it only exists in the dark membrane? Our money psychotic delusion stops compassion from filtering up into our minds. Our money psychotic delusion, in fact, all psychotic delusions do that, but money, the most prevalent one, causes the human mind to be harmful, to lie, to manipulate, to keep the poor poor. That's what money does to our consciousness. That's why money is a manipulation of our consciousness, because it's not real. The human species, we will never advance to a loving, enlightened society of taking care of poverty, diseases, all our ills, when we believe in a psychotic and use a psychotic and abuse a psychotic delusion. It's just not going to happen. Impossible. The compassion within our souls cannot filter up when we're distracted by this, money. It's time to end the manipulation and stop believing all the lies that this system, the banking system, will tell. We need to restructure this. The banking structure that's running the world, forget about the government and stuff. We need to change this. We don't even need government when the banking structure is run with compassion and we start taking care of the poor. Why do we need taxes? Banking can do it. Survival credits. Dr. King understood it back in 1968. In the 60s, that was a big movement, survival credits. Dr. King understood the sham of banking. And he wanted survival credits to the poor. We could do that without crashing the system. That's the truth. It's time, people, because this is just going to kill us.